All right, can you guys hear us? Test some. All right. I want to test this.
Looks like it's working.
I think we're good.
Looks like it's working. I think we're good.
That sounds way better.
Yeah.
All right, you can cut that off.
Spring break.
That sounds way better. All right, you can cut that off. Yeah, we figured out the mic issue. So I'm going to turn on.
Okay.
IG. Damn, coaching mistake, man. See, yeah, Kent, it was the settings with the microphone before with the adjustments the YouTube's made, it would not even recognize our mic.
Yeah,
so I'm
it was
talking
just going
into like
through
the computer.
Yeah, it was going into the computer
Exactly.
or the actual
or the webcam.
Yeah, webcam.
So now we are up and going. I think it's the I figured it out. We're good. All right. I know, man. It's like our coaching, bro. I'm gonna turn on the IG and then we can get actually started. I'm sorry for the late night BS with the stream, but
we will never let software stop us.
Much relief. Much relief. All right, IG, we're coming back to you guys as well. Trying to split screen that. Move it this way a little bit.
Boss's Ranch.
All right, so let's talk about Boss's Ranch real quick. Give a shout out to our sponsors, Boss's Ranch, IG, local HEB, cold produce, phenomenal product. Red River Ranch, just had it with some rolled chicken tacos. Went fantastic. So go get your bottle of Boss's Ranch. Y'all weigh in. A lot of people have been getting, I know she's in there trolling, giving great feedback on the product. So very excited for Boss's Ranch. They had a commercial drop the other day on their Facebook and Instagram page. So go check that out as well. Nathan Lott, welcome back, brother. Thank you. All right, guys, smash that like button. Any other streams we had, just disregard it. I'm actually going to share this officially to Twitter. All right, cool.
Bench Sam, no way.
All right, I think we're good. I shared it to Twitter as well. So one of the things, let's start off with the preview.
What's up, Mark?
And then we can get into the comments and stuff. Is anybody on here? Okay.
No.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to just discuss is what type of Texas team will show up on Saturday.
Well, that's kind of hard to tell, honestly. But we'll learn a lot about the kids that are going to be playing next year. If they show up to play and actually want to win, because everyone who says we're not playing for anything, they're wrong. You know,
you're always playing for something.
One of the things, especially if you're playing an in-state rival. When my brother was back here, one of the main things was to win the first game. Second was to win Texas. Third was to win the Big 12. And if you want to be state champions, you got to beat everyone in Texas. Right now, we're 1-1 against in-state competition, and we really shouldn't count that one win because it's Rice out of all teams. So, you know, technically we're 0-1, and I would really like to beat the one that actually is kind of leading Texas right now.
Right, and Baylor's a very, very obviously, you know, they had a heartbreaking, you know, devastating school historical loss, right? The whole 28-3. They got Atlanta Falcons or New England, like that Super Bowl, and they don't score in the second half. Very, very frustrating for them. They're still 9-1. They're still ranked 14th. Their goals are still ahead of them, right? In terms of winning the Big 12. It's kind of a reverse spot from last year, although we weren't one loss when we played them, but we were kind of eyeing up, trying to get back to the Big 12 championship game to face Oklahoma. Now Baylor is in that position, playing at home. Do they play at Kansas the last week, or does Kansas come to Baylor? I'm not sure.
They play at Kansas.
They play at Kansas. So
I wouldn't think that they'd have 3 straight home games.
So that's going to be potentially, and somebody in the chat can confirm whether they play, because I think it's going to be senior day for them, if I'm not mistaken. But with all that being said, everything's on the table for Baylor. And with this Texas team right now, now the coaches come out this week and say, they still give us the good week of practice. Spirits are high. Guys, I haven't heard, to be honest with you, though, and to their point, I haven't heard a whole bunch of negative chatter like we had the last few weeks. I don't know if it's because dudes are defeated and maybe checked out. I don't know if it's they did kind of come together a little bit despite the losses with, TCU and Iowa State, or if it's just like, they really do have job openings now for some of these positions. What do you think?
The only negative thing that I really saw was everyone was tearing apart Malcolm Roach and him coming forward and actually taking ownership, which was kind of refreshing because this whole staff really doesn't take ownership when they
struggle with that.
So a 22-year-old kid actually comes forward and says, apologizes for the loss and everything like that, and how it affected him. That was the only real negative thing I saw. I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, like I said, I have my doubts about how they're going to come out. But, I could also see us come out and play the best game of the year and us be like, what? So
because we're random.
Yes. I can't put my finger on this team right here.
I can't either. And look, the injuries, again, we've talked about a lot, and we'll get to Austin's question that he had for you if you want to read that. But the injuries have been a factor. But we don't have a good pulse of this team. Our one half of the season, our offensive line looks like gangbusters. They have they hit a roadblock with OU, and then they just fall apart the rest of the season. 1 minute, our defense looks like we can't stop anyone. We can't stop an FCS team, and then the next moment, they're playing pretty good football. Like I don't know what. I thought Ryan Bluchevsky was our starting punter, and then somebody else comes along and punts way better than him.
It was better than him.
Like it just nothing makes sense with this team. But go ahead and answer Austin's question.
So Austin asked about BJ Foster on the IG live the other day. He was talking about fuck it, the season's already over. Well, I didn't see that.
I didn't see that either.
If that's the case, that's just not a good attitude. But stuff like this seems to always happen when the sky is falling for Texas. You remember when people were I think it was Chris Boyd was tweeting at halftime or something like that, like retweeting. He should have gone to A&M or something like that. But you
can get over that stuff, though.
Yeah,
we got past that.
I still think that he's a guy who comes out and plays hard. So I think we're not going to really worry about him. I'm just worried about us playing like a team. We just might be a little selfish team right now, where we're just focused on ourselves. Oh, poor me. We're not getting the wins that we deserve, and you got to go and earn those wins.
Right.
So,
guys are definitely frustrated, but at the same token, I think our fan base is obviously frustrated, but we still have to support the team through the rest of this season. Right. And especially these kids need to feel our presence, that we're behind them. I think a lot of people have done a pretty good job of keeping the hard critique at the staff and holding the staff's feet to the fire. I think at this point, and I said it on last week's video, we'll get to all the drama behind last week's video here in a second. But I said, this probably confirmed that some folks in terms of at least position coaches, that was probably the writing on the wall for some guys, right? So how they finish the season, whether those guys have been identified or if there's more still to come, we'll see. But with all that being said, all the energy and disappointment that we had and our frustration and the point you made about pass fail on this season, all that stuff is here. I mean, it's true. It's a fail, but what do you learn from that failure? Do we get better? Do we grow? Do we turn this thing around? They can still go 8-4 and go to a decent bowl game. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
Like I was talking to you about that like 3 years ago when we kill for a 9-win season. And that's not out of the realm of possibility either, right there. You're counting the bowl game win. But, comparative to last season and with all the momentum coming from last season, it's not a successful season.
No. Alex Renneria, appreciate you chiming in, man. I know you're an Aggie fan, but appreciate the comments there. We'll bring Brandon back, Alex, after you guys play Georgia and LSU, because Brandon's also a Cowboys fan as well. So, we'll get his thoughts on everything there, but we'll definitely have, and it'll be the three of us talking, and it'll be a really fun, animated conversation as A&M really heads into two big-ass games to finish the season. Kim Hornsby wants to hire Urban Meyer. Tran is not on board with that. I'm not on board with it either.
I don't want to sell my soul. He's a scumbag.
Kim, you ready to sell your soul for Urban Meyer? Let me see. He said, "Laugh my butt off." He said, "I'm ready to sell my soul."
Jeez,
I want to win.
Okay.
I'm just like, I'm not even trying to. I just want to understand the Urban Meyer people for a second. You do realize he was aware of Aaron Hernandez, that stuff, and the Ohio State stuff. Like,
he's smart.
I don't want somebody that's going to come here and dig up skeletons. And that comment he made on Fox Sports last week about maybe we need to look under the hood at Texas. Every time we look under the hood at his programs, we find, literally bodies. So I don't know if I want to deal with that. I want to win just as bad as anybody else, but I also don't want to lose this program to BS. Why has the offensive line regressed? That's actually going to go.
That's a weird question, first of all.
That's actually going to go in line with what we want to discuss with Baylor here, because one of the things, and somebody made this point earlier, is shout out to Connor. He said the problem with the team is they prefer Hidden Valley Ranch and not Boss's Ranch. My guy.
I like that one.
Anyway, but in all seriousness, I don't know how much homework you guys have done on Baylor, or if you guys have seen them play. They actually run a 3-3-5 defense. They run it very well. They're the best defense in the conference. They're a top 30 defense overall in the country. And they have guys, all their linebackers are playing very well. And they have a guy up front, I believe it's Lynch, who has like 8.5 sacks this year. He's a guy that, I think he was the one that forced a fumble on Jalen Hurts when he was going to the end zone, and he got the ball out. Guys, they remind me of a lot of how we played at times in 2017, in terms of the versatility with their defensive line, how they're still able to get pressure with those guys. But one of the other ways that Phil Snow, the defensive coordinator, also generates pressure is he goes with a lot of amoeba looks. He'll stand up 8 people at the line of scrimmage. They'll walk up people into the A gaps.
He won't have anyone with hands down.
Yeah. They'll just have everybody standing up, walking around, and then all of a sudden they'll do a little. Even with 3-man line, they just have a little bit more creative stuff. Now they also have guys that are very, very technically sound. Some of those guys are veterans. The brother Bernard, who's a linebacker, I think the last 2 games he's had 34 total tackles. So They are extremely good up front. Royal OU fan here chiming in, who got to see them up close and personal last week, agreeing with us. They are fundamentally sound. So we're going to have to, going into the offensive line and the regression.
Hey, does anyone know anything about Denzel Mims? Because I know like the last series he kind of got carried off to the sidelines.
Yeah. It looked like it was a cramp to me, but
Okay.
if anybody's heard
we had a great week of practice. Yeah.
But what I wanted to get into with you and have this conversation is going back to the Mr. Bryson's question about why is our offensive line regressed, because we kind of just gave the preview for the Baylor front seven is really, really good. And they're going to have, and they're what they're good at is what we've been weak at in terms of our pass protection, picking up certain calls, handing guys off, passing guys off. What do you see in terms of where did we get exposed on the offensive line, and what's going on?
Well, we got exposed first on stunts where we haven't been able to ramp up quickly on recognizing that and I guess talking to each other, communicating with each other on whose blocks or what, or hey, you stay right there. You know, this guy's going to come around. I'll get this side. I got the outside covered for passing downs. Running downs, I think that's honestly a coaching thing, because we're not really establishing the line of scrimmage. We're not the games that we do, when we make it a focus to actually do it, we've won. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
Where we've said, okay, you know, we're getting 3-yard clips here, 3-yard clips here. Oh, finally, second half, we bust off a 12-yard run. You know, those things, the things that we like to call the little body blows, if we're thinking of it as boxing. You know, over the later rounds, that's when you start getting success. Yes, the Iowa State game, we had to start passing, but we didn't have to abandon the run. Did Oklahoma abandon the run when they were down 28?
No, they didn't.
That was one thing that you and I were talking about, is that we were very impressed that they kept
Lincoln still kept mixing in the run, even when they were down 3 scores at the beginning of the half. They would mix it in. I'm not saying you got to still go run first and second down. I'm not saying that.
No.
Because I even want to get to what Tim Beck was talking about in the post-game press conference. I don't know if you guys saw the coordinator's availability, but Tim Beck was talking about in the final sequence that we had on offense where we went 3 and out and we went run screen. And he was like, well, guys, and Tom Herman said this too, and they're getting really defensive about it, right? Where they're like, well, if we had been aggressive and kept going tempo and went pass and ran off no clock, you guys would have been asking why we didn't slow the game down and run the football. Well, you can be aggressive and still take care of the clock. You don't have to, and I don't mind them running the football on first down. Pick a run play that really challenges the defense. Don't just come out there and heavy personnel and do the inside zone BS and don't even give them a look, right? Like, come out, motion some people, do something creative to try to get yourself 4 or 5 yards, and then put the pressure on the defense. Maybe you play action pass. I'm a Cowboys fan. We saw Dak Prescott in the Lions game. They went with a hard play action, and Blake Jarwin was right there open in the flat.
Yep.
Game's over. Yep. They have to start calling timeouts, right? Yep. So there's things you can do.
I would have loved to do that on first down. You just catch
hard
them
play
off.
action.
Yeah,
just
catch them off guard. Like they're stacking the line. You get it out on a little rollout real quick. Even a 3-yard pass that anyone can make, that's still 8 yards right there. Yeah.
And that's what bothers me, and that's where they get criticized as coaching staff. Their mentality, right? When you start to get defensive like that, look, you got to come out there. I don't know about y'all, and y'all answer my question real quick, because I answer everybody's questions. I want to try to answer this question. If they had been aggressive and it didn't work, and they came out and told you guys the game and not even give the state, wouldn't you have accepted that? Wouldn't you have been more accepting of that answer than we were just trying to run the ball because we didn't want to be acute, because we were scared of pass? Like, it doesn't have to be this in between. It's ridiculous. And that mentality, and I've been trying to ease up off the coaching staff.
It says we're freezing.
Oh, we are? I'm clean over here. Refresh the browser, because we're still clean over here on connection. All right, appreciate it, guys. Yeah, so let me get to some of these questions here, guys. As again, this is Baylor prep. I want to talk about Charlie Brewer, and we're not talking about the fact that he's a former, his parents went to Texas and he didn't get an offer. None of that BS. So let's talk about the football player, right? 18 touchdowns, 5 picks, very good quarterback. I think he's played very well. I think this is still more of a product of Matt Rule than it is of even the talent, because I see a lot of questionable things with Charlie Brewer.
He's a dual threat, though. He likes to run the ball. So, and that's where we don't excel at as a defense, is eyeing that, the design run or the scramble runs or things like that. And they have 2 really good wide receivers. Denzel Mims, if he's 100%, he's as good as it gets in the Big 12. And Graham, I mean,
Taquan
Thornton. Yeah, Thornton, not Graham, sorry. Thornton, he's a possession receiver at its core, and I mean, he just moves the sticks.
Yeah, he can high point the football too, which is going to be something that we have to pay attention to for our corners. Mark Vasquez, good point. Brewer does hold the football. He is a guy that very similar to Brock Purdy in that he'll try to extend plays. My thing with Charlie Brewer, and I've been watching him since the Lake Travis days, doesn't have the biggest arm in the world. That ball will hang at times. There was actually a pick in the TCU game. I don't know if it was the second or third quarter, where he had his man wide open, but he just didn't have that mustard on the football. And there are opportunities to get picks. Austin G, to your point, though, Brewer did play very well against us last year. That was a game where Shane Bouchot, I think, had to play the whole game.
Minus the first quarter,
right?
First drive, actually,
right? First drive, and he was throwing the ball out of the into the end zone. Brandon Jones saves the game, or else we lose, right? So this is something to where, and he's a better football player now than he was a year ago. I think there's no question about that. But with his physical limitations from a arm perspective, I think there's some balls that will float. You'll see what I'm talking about. Now, whether we take advantage of it or not is another thing. But he can stall. I mean, they put up 0 points in the second half of the Oklahoma game. Now, I know your boy, you call him McHasty.
Yeah.
Jermichael Hasty fumbled. And that kind of that was an avalanche of momentum. But the Baylor offense can stall. So what do we do? How do we counter that and match up with a guy like Charlie Brewer?
It's very similar to Brock Purdy, honestly.
It is.
It's and I think we had a pretty good game plan against him. What would they score 24 against us? So I mean, 20.
Was it 23?
23. They scored 23 against us. Yeah, it was in a cold atmosphere, et cetera. But from what I've seen is that Baylor isn't that high scoring of a team. They're just an efficient team.
They're efficient. They can score.
They remind me a lot of us last year, where they would control the clock. They've always played in close games, it seems like, and they've eked out the wins. Yes. So I mean, they remind me of us last year. So I think we have to keep them contained. Don't let him rush for 80 yards or anything like that. And we have to. They love the little quick slant to Mims. I know that, and just let him use his athleticism to get extra yards. So we gotta limit those as much as possible as well. Try to confuse him,
guys.
It's time for me. I'm not slow enough. I'm too slow right now to play.
Clive, it is not a good recipe. I'm going to tell y'all straight up right now. I am going to pick Baylor to win this game. I just don't see it in terms of the discipline. I don't like this matchup with their front seven and our offensive line. The way our offensive line's been playing, they might get Sam hurt. The way they've been messing around back there, and then you have coaches who, the folks like Tim Beck and Tom Herman, who get defensive with their visibility on the game, and they don't recognize game flow and trying to, kind of use their jab with their run game to keep that pass rush at bay, give themselves some RPO opportunities, some play action opportunities. They don't want to be in that business, it seems like. So, I mean, at this point, I don't see it personally.
And this is a huge game where we're going to miss Cade Brewer a lot, honestly, as protection, that extra guy to protect.
So they said they wanted to go heavy, bringing in the 2 tight ends, but they hadn't been playing well. Like, these are the things I'm talking about with game flow that they just don't recognize. The other thing that's come up this week, I don't know, I think it's been a subject on many message boards, was one of the things that Alex Dunlap discovered with Texas tipping their plays, the running backs. If the running back was lined up in more of a pistol look behind Sam Ehlinger, I think it was like 80% of almost 80%. I don't remember what the statistic was. It was a run. If he was standing next to him, I think all but 2 of the attempts were throws. So, and they said they have somebody in the room, one of their analysts, that is assigned strictly to self-scouting. I don't know who that person is, to recognize those type of tendencies, because everybody falls into habits in terms of a personnel grouping to call a play. Everybody, there's tendencies out of that. Like, if you're going 4 wide, you're probably going to throw. It's probably 80-20 for most people, right? Mm-hmm. But when it's a running back type of thing like that, that's a bad tell.
Yes.
Yes. You know what I mean? That's a bad tell.
I was telling you about rewatching the game, the Iowa State game last week. I was telling you about that yesterday, that I had my wife. I said, hey, just let me give you background on this, on a running formation. I'm going to play some plays for you, and I want you to call whether it's a run or pass. She got, I think we did 5 plays. She got everyone right, 100%, whether it was run or pass. And then I tried to do the 6th play, and she goes, I don't give a shit. And she left, walked away, and she knows nothing about football. So if she's able to diagnose what the play is going to be, I'm pretty sure these college kids who have been playing football their whole lives are able to pick up on that.
I mean, when you're out there, you know this, you play the game at a collegiate level, you're looking for for every little advantage. I remember we had a guy on our team in high school, and maybe I've told this story before, and this brother went on to play in the CFL. He was our punter. He was our ace corner. He was a wide receiver, great athlete. But one of the things we noticed collectively was he was giving away our plays. Like, he would line up at wide receiver anytime it was a run. It was a run, and he knew he was either going to stop block or engage. Mm-hmm. He would kind of like play with his hands. He would like do this. Yeah. Anytime he knew it was a pass, he would get excited and he would start to swing.
Okay.
Or he'd have his hands like this.
He'd be tight.
Yeah.
He'd be tight, ready to go.
Ready to go, because he wanted to get a good takeoff. People were noticing that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like you start to see the defense look at him and then react. It's like, that's a tell, right? So, like the quarterback power, like that's a good point, Sean Harris. So we come out in that heavy formation. we let's be real about the quarterback power for a second. We've been running this. It's a variation of the 18-wheeler that we were doing with Coach Strong and Tyrone Swoops. And we got another big quarterback, and we continue doing it. It's something we've always blocked well, starting even back with Patrick Vahe and those guys. That was kind of their thing, right? Zach Shackelford was there for the 18-wheeler. One of the things that they're running into, though, that we eventually developed off of that was we did have pop pass off of it, or a jump pass or something. And you come out there, and it's just like, and then they start doing quarterback sweeps with Sam Ehlinger when he doesn't have that ability. And it's just things that don't make sense and line up. All right, let's catch up on
wait, how far are you going up?
Or actually, you can pull some if you want. But so the Roshan point to Ridge Tulos that he just said, I don't know why Roshan hasn't thrown the ball this year in any sort of package or even a read option or RPO look, something. I mean, and it's funny, if you put him in an offense with a little bit more creativity, it's like they're scared to be creative. at times. And it's frustrating. And I get this staff is really big on imposing their will, big on having that level of physicality. And they feel as though if they execute, they can get what they want with a veteran quarterback, but it's not enough. And when teams are scouting you and getting used to your personnel, and that's another reason why they may need to mix up the staff, just guys who are not versed enough and they're just not, they just don't make the adjustments necessary. Period.
And that's where, like, going to the whole Iowa State's what's it called, controversy that you got into.
Oh yeah. So for those,
we
go
were
ahead.
Trying to talk about how they thought that we were not giving them credit, and we were actually just saying that we were completely outcoached, but it was in a different way. We didn't just come out and say it, but little things like, hey, we're getting 4 and 5 star athletes. We had a top 3 recruiting class
in 2018.
Yes, in 2018. Iowa State, I don't think, was even in the top 25.
No,
you aren't getting these 4 or 5 star athletes ready to play 2 or 3 stars. You got outcoached. Matt Gamble outcoached you. He did better than you. And I think we were just mad that he didn't have us prepared to play a good team. And we were showing our anger towards the actual game itself. If we didn't give Iowa State credit, hey, you beat us. 100%.
Iowa State beat us. They were the better football team. Look, and for those who don't know what we're talking about, we got into Iowa State's SB Nation page, retweeted us and said we lacked awareness and we were delusional Texas fans because we did not talk more about Iowa State in that video we made. And the way I looked at it is, look, it's family business, right? I think I at the beginning we said hats off to the Cyclones. They got a great win. I was not in the mood to talk about Iowa State at that moment and how Brock Purdy evaded the rush and all this type of stuff. I didn't care about that at that moment. In that moment, we knew we had failed this season. We knew we weren't going to go back to the Big 12 championship game. And it was a family meeting we needed to have with you guys as fans. So get the hell out of here, Iowa State. We're having a family meeting. Congrats on your win. Take it and leave. Yeah. Whoop-de-doo. You're 6-4 or whatever your record is.
I think they're the same record.
So whoop-de-doo. It's just those of you who know, I always try to give credit to the opponents. Look, I just told y'all I think Baylor's going to win because of their front seven on defense and because they're the better coach. Phil Snow and Matt Rule are just a step ahead of our guys right now. Until proven otherwise. Now, Tom Herman has had success against Matt Rule in the past, but
past is the past.
Past is the past, man. And it is a what have you done for me lately sport. That the Sugar Bowl stuff, and I'm not, again, let me make this clear, and I think you're with me on this. We are not advocating Tom Herman should be fired, but he does deserve the heat. He does deserve the pressure. This is a high-pressure environment. This is a high-pressure job. All that fact. This is Texas, and that should mean something. And right now, we are not performing up to expectations based on the level of talent that is coming into your program. Okay?
Yeah.
And this is year in, year out. And you can't use the whole Charlie Strong's players because you know who one of Charlie Strong's players? Devin Duvernay. He's the best player on your team.
Sam Ehlinger.
I don't count him because he never technically played for Charlie, even though he committed on it. But Colin Johnson, Malcolm Roach, Brandon Jones, so you can't – I don't want to hear that, okay? People – and these guys have now played for you for 3 years, okay? So got to get it done.
Someone asked me, what do you think? What's your prediction? Well, before the season, I actually predicted us to lose to Baylor. I just think that Matt Rule is just – I think he may be the best coach in the Big 12. And I even said I think he kind of got robbed last year for not even being considered for co-coach of the year with Lincoln Riley because of what he inherited, a 1-11 team, and then turned him into a what it was, a 7-6 team or something like that, his second year, and then now he's working on a 10-win regular season. So I just think he's a fantastic coach.
He is.
From what he's inherited, and I think if right now my gut feeling is we actually have more to play for than them, but they're not going to overlook us. So I still think Baylor's going to win. I just do. I think he'll have us prepped to play us. I don't think they'll be licking their wounds because they got beat by Oklahoma, because they know deep down inside that they can play with Oklahoma and they're going to play them again.
Wyatt, appreciate you on IG, man. Thank you. We'll try to keep it up. Alex, I agree with you. Shout out to Alex. We met him last year at the Big 12 championship game. But man, I agree with you, man. He said, for those of you who can't see his comments on IG, he said Tim Beck's media availability this week made me super worried. And I agree. I think I just touched on that a little bit. I just, and I know he's not the play caller, but he's still involved in the scripting. He's still involved in the game plan. He's involved in all of that. And we've given him a lot of credit for Sam Ehlinger's development as a player. I actually want to give Jared Guidry credit for this. I don't know if he's on the chat or not, but Jared sent me a message this week, an email, and said, was talking about Sam Ehlinger has kind of not necessarily hit a wall, but he's like plateaued as a player. And we saw him playing at a Heisman level like the first 6 games, and then and I think that also coincides with the struggles with the offensive line. But in terms of Sam Ehlinger forcing plays downfield, and those are some of the things that Jared was worried about. But Tim Beck, Nathan, if you didn't see it, he was very, very defensive this week about not going for the win and not being aggressive in their offensive mindset in the Iowa State game. He kind of threw the wide receivers under the bus, talking about their drops. They did have some drops, but I don't know if it was 7 to 8 footballs he said that they dropped. So if I'm in that room, I feel some type of way about that when my coach comes out there and says that. I don't know. It was just he didn't seem confident. Body language.
Once again, the staff is not taking accountability. It looks like they're pointing fingers somewhere else. And one of the things that Tom Herman always says is we don't ever talk about the players. We talk about the coaches. And what is the first thing he does is he calls out the wide receiver, the wide receiver group. You know what? Your quarterbacks are as good as your wide receivers are. So if you're not making your wide receivers happy, your studs on the outside, your little safety blankets, you're not going to be successful. And I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't point any fingers at this point. It's not a good look. Secondly, you should just be like, hey, we lost the game. They're a better team. We're focused on this next week. That's how you should leave it as.
I think it might be time. I've given Tim Beck credit for 2 things, because I wasn't all the way yet on the whole moving on from Tim Beck thing, just because I know how much Tom Herman personally has his hands in the offense. Now, do I think Tom Herman wants to have his hands in the offense like that, or does he want to be more of a CEO? I think ultimately he does want to be more of a CEO. However, I do give Tim Beck credit for Sam's development, helping him along. And I give him credit for recruiting. He's done a good job recruiting other quarterbacks. And he's always done a good job recruiting quarterbacks. Going back to Nebraska, Ohio State, that is a strength of his. So if we move on from him, that could play a role in the Hudson Cards and the Jalen Moreaus and those type of guys, right? But at the same token, that guy I saw up there at the press conference, I can't have that. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just said that too. I mean, I agree 100% with you. That's just it wasn't right, and it just didn't look good, honestly, and it just felt uncomfortable.
So a lot of people are talking about candidates. Hey, if we, I'll tell you a good candidate for some ranch. Boss's Ranch, Red River. Go get some. Check out their commercials on IG, guys. Follow them. HEB Cold Produce. Get you some Boss's Ranch. We love these guys. You can always count on them. Now, some folks are asking about candidates for OC, and here's the thing. Tom Herman hired a whole bunch of people that he had relationships with and that he had worked with. Now, the one person that he went out and got and made an adjustment on that I can recall on the staff was probably Herb Hand. I don't know if he had a prior relationship when he went and got Herb Hand from Auburn. I don't know if he worked with Herb Hand before. Somebody can give me background on that if you know. But that was a positive for us last season. So I think he's going to have to be willing to go out and it may have to be somebody you've never worked with before. If Coach O can go get Joe Brady, who I know he hasn't worked with before, like this whole thing where, because Tom Herman, and somebody brought this up last week, Tom Herman went the day he was hired, when he had that first press conference, he said, I'm going to assemble the best coaching staff in America.
He has yet to do that. I mean, he hasn't.
That was a lie.
Yeah.
No, you assembled all the best people you personally knew in your network. Well, grow your network and go find somebody else, right? And it can't just be somebody you've worked with before or this. Yeah, you want to get people that another coach has signed off on that person. But at the same token, Major Apple, do not bring Major Applewhite here. Is he even allowed to come back? I'm not even trying to.
No, he's blacklisted. He's blacklisted.
With that
Kendall Briles, no. If you're saying Kendall Briles, you probably also said Urban Meyer as the head coach.
Well, Florida State was able to overlook it, but
but it's Florida State and they're not doing really well.
What's funny about the Kendall Briles thing is we got the other guy from Baylor. That's the the quality control for special teams, and our special teams is awful. What's that guy's name? You know what I'm talking about? The other guy we got from Baylor.
I know who you're talking about.
He was a very controversial hire.
I don't think Bob Stoops. If we're talking about OCs, probably they will look at they'll probably give a good look at Chad Morris just because of his connections.
I don't see it happening.
I don't think that we'll hire him.
I think Tom Herman hates Chad Morris
because he was his kryptonite when he was at Houston. Yeah. Hey, if you can't beat him, join him, right?
I don't see that happening. I think there's a better chance that Larry Fedora becomes the offensive coordinator.
I hope not. I don't see much of the offense changing if that's the case. Who else?
They're gonna have to look. Nobody even knew who Joe Brady was.
What about Mark Helfrich?
Is he with the Bears right now?
I think so.
We did try to hire him. I would hire him. Yeah. I like him
because he was the mind child behind
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
No man with the O'Connor said no man with the last name Fedora could be the OC on my team. Oh man, he could only be an analyst with that name. Hey, that's hilarious.
That's
you
funny.
Not be.
Kevin Durant for OC. He's shooting threes. We're gonna kick field goals all game.
I don't want. He said, I'm big on names too, man. He's like, no, just off the fact that his last name's Fedora, I don't care. He can't be my OC.
Hilarious.
That's hilarious. Oh man,
humbling himself.
What was that guy's name, man? Was it like Casey Horney or something?
I don't remember.
It was a special teams guy that we took. It was people were really upset about.
We need to hire a special teams coach too. I'm sorry. We need to hire a special teams coach. It's probably I don't know. Like, hey, Dicker, just go kick some field goals. You'll be good.
David Beatty, something's up with his money with Kansas. I don't know what the hell's going on there. I really don't. I agree. Stay Woke said, do we go after pro OCs? You know who my ideal candidate was? And Nathan Lott, I give him credit to this because it was his idea first, and I give credit where credit is due. I am hardcore still because I don't like to go this whole coaching thing that we have going on where we're just going through coaches like crazy. That's how you become Tennessee.
Yeah.
But if we were to move on from Tom Herman, I would have a serious phone call into Kyle Shanahan of the San Francisco 49ers. I think you have to have big boss moves like that.
I would love that, but there is no
I know,
way.
but you're Texas.
Like there is
Nathan
way.
Lott, that was your idea. Like, hey, call Kyle Shanahan.
The best scenario would be is if they lost out the rest of the season.
I know.
If the 49ers lost out the rest of the season.
I know. But one dream. Money talks
with you.
Nathan said money talks.
I would love that.
That would be the person I would target long term.
If
you really want to
Michigan
shake
away,
things up.
What's his name?
Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, but now I'm just saying. That's how I always feel about the Cowboys too, by the way. I don't care if this guy's locked in with another team. You're the Cowboys. You have more money than them. Go flex your muscle. You're Texas. You have more. I don't care who the hell is over there. Go grab them.
Yeah. Give him a Jimbo contract. As an OC.
Do you know how much credibility that would bring to the program?
Oh, fantastic! Like his running schemes are excellent. Like I would love to see that with this offensive line.
Yeah,
but
I know.
With that said,
I'm dreaming right now.
It's not happening.
I'm dreaming right now. But overall, I mean, I want to get back to some of our prep here because Alex said Graham Harrell from USC, North Texas offense was nasty with him. I don't know a lot about Graham other than when he played at Texas Tech.
I'm sure he's using the leach system.
Yeah,
I mean, well, hybrid leach system.
I do. I mean, wasn't it Graham Harrell who Crabtreed us?
Yes.
Oh shit!
I just don't want him just because of that. If we can't have Fedora as our OC, I just don't want the guy who screwed up our perfect season.
Guys, anyway, let's get back because we do have a game on Saturday. Mark, as of right now, I'm not going to Waco.
Yeah, we have tickets, but I don't feel like driving up there, honestly. I really don't.
I love Colt, but that would be a last result.
If it didn't work, Tom gone that next year. Yeah,
and I'm not saying go I'm not saying you need to go. I'm in the camp that I think a lot of people have been turned off from our pro style spread that we run or power spread, whatever the hell you want to call it. I think that still can work in our conference. Mm-hmm. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pro concepts that LSU runs. They just run it better. They're more aggressive with how they attack people with their route combinations. We don't always put our foot to the metal like they do. Now, there's times this season where we have shown that with the Devin Duvernay stuff. And there's times this season where we have with Colin Johnson. So I'm not just saying we have to, again, if I'm going to say that because I like the 3-3-5. I also want to talk about the contrast between Tim Beck and Todd Orlando, because Todd Orlando came off, to me, I was fine with his press conference. I like the fact that he talked about how he needed to become more of a teacher when dealing with some of those younger guys.
He touched on what his opportunities are,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to what
other
positions.
He was like, when I was working with Anthony Wheeler, like Anthony Wheeler could regurgitate like everything I just said to him and then whiteboard it.
Okay.
He was like, my young guys maybe can do 50% of the scheme at this point. Like, whereas he's like, I was working with Bobby Wagner at Utah State, who could whiteboard everything I'm talking about. And he's like, it's been a while, especially because he's also the person in charge of the linebacker room. It's been a while since I've had to teach. So he's talked about like having to make that adjustment as a coach. At least I thought he was being at least transparent with us instead of being defensive. And so I was fine with that. I really like Todd Orlando. That's why I've defended him, because I think he does come off well to the players. I think he does at least to me, tries to take accountability. I think he gets stubborn with the blitzing.
Yeah, I was about to say, can I whiteboard the blitzing from the safety position constantly over from the opposite side, opposite hash mark, opposite sideline we blitz? Can we please do that? Can we whiteboard for him that? Like, yeah, this is a no because it was funny because we even saw the same type of blitz from Iowa State perspective, and we laughed. We go, "Hey, did that delay? Did that?
Yeah, their delay blitz didn't
did
work.
that work?
Yeah, it didn't
No,
work either. It was a terrible blitz on
does
their
not
side.
work.
So I want to go back to Stay Woke's comment. He said, "Are there any weaknesses we can expose for Baylor?" Baylor stalls. Their offense does stall. They've stalled in a lot of games. They stalled against TCU. They turned the ball over there.
It looked like if you run the ball against them over and over again, I mean they do get gassed out, and it looked like they were getting chunk plays. So we can't abandon the run right away either. I mean, we got to control the clock too. We got to control field position and everything.
Joshua wants to buy your tickets.
No, so it was an intern that we had that was getting us tickets. So who's actually at Baylor? That's he. So I don't know if he could sell them. He just sent me whatever it's called.
Mark Vasquez said, "Steven, at what point will you stop defending?" Oh, I was trying to read that, and then more comments came in.
What happened? Who was
Mark had a question for me. At what point will you stop defending Todd Orlando? What will it take for you to give up on him? I see good from Todd Orlando, and I've said that before. I don't know if you know this, Mark, but I think since over the last 10 to 15 years, the longest we've had a defensive coordinator is 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we're constantly, there's been constant churn. I just think he is a good teacher, and I think he definitely has flaws, and he's had issues with starting football games that have really bothered me. But overall, like, I do think this defense hasn't been terrible when they've been healthy this year. Like, even last week, like, they repeatedly got stops. Mm-hmm. There's been times where they've generated turnovers. We have seen the corners play better. Now, I know Anthony Cook's gone now. I think he's out for the season.
Is he?
Yeah. But the corners, we're seeing them improve. The 3-3-5, one of the elements where we've struggled, and you'll see where Baylor's gotten good, is the linebacker play and the versatility that they have. When we had Gary Johnson roaming around with his speed, and the double-A gap blitzing was a lot more effective, right? Now, he's trying to get Juwan Mitchell up to speed, and Juwan Mitchell's had some really good moments, and I think he will be an even better football player down the road. But there's some things that happen that are out of his control. The DeGabriel Floyd situation. DeGabriel Floyd was the perfect kid. He was like his Bobby Wagner. Mm-hmm. That was gonna be Todd Orlando's Bobby Wagner. Yeah. Because Todd Orlando talks about Bobby Wagner and coaching him at Utah State. That's what he saw in DeGabriel Floyd. He can't control the spinal stenosis situation. Yeah. Okay. And what's unfortunate is they loaded up at linebacker in this class. Caleb Johnson's gone. David Benda, he's still learning and developing.
Which I think he's going to be a good player, by the way.
I think he will be a good player. Overshown is basically in the linebacker room at this point. And you saw how well he played in the Iowa State game.
I think he did great in the Iowa State game.
Yeah, Todd Orlando talked a lot about Overshown. He really, really did.
And then of course your boy Osai. I mean, he's a star.
So even people, he talked about why he's playing Osai inside, and I think it's, without saying it, he was trying to cover for Jeffrey McCulloch, who's not 100% healthy. Mm-hmm. But so he was like, I kind of have to keep McCulloch on the outside to mitigate the shit that's going on inside.
Well, he had a dislocated shoulder, and if he's having to play in
Marcus Tillman, Marcus Tillman, great point. Marcus Tillman was coming on, and a guy that they really liked. Like that, what happened in the linebacker room is unprecedented. Mm-hmm. And so when you get to a point where and then on top of that, then he lost 3 safeties. But when guys have been back and healthy, the defense has not been terrible. If you're holding Iowa State to 23 points, you should win the football game. period. You gave up 2 touchdowns. Now, yes, you gave up a 75-yard touchdown, a broken play.
Mm-hmm.
Can't happen. The defensive line has not played as well as they should. I think even guys like a Devondre Sweat are going to get better. They have an awesome defensive line class coming in here next year. That should be a position of strength. Eventually, the safeties are even going to be even better. Now now BJ Foster's going to be an upperclassman.
Mm-hmm.
Caden Stearns will be an upperclassman. Overshawn will be an upperclassman. So I don't know. And the thing is Todd Orlando still comes off again, it's just a vibe in what I pay attention. He still comes off to me genuine. Like he genuinely gives a shit about trying to fix this. He's not trying to pass off blame to kids. He talks about how guys have been graded and where they've lost things. So I don't know. Sorry to give the long-winded answer.
No, you're good. Tran, yes or no? Will we be better next season? Defensively, yes. I just look at all the youth that we have playing around on that side of the ball. The defensive line, I think, will just as long as they stay healthy. Of course, that's another thing is health. You're always going to do that. Does Sam take that extra step where he doesn't have Colin or Devin right there, and then makes everyone else on their level type of player, kind of like what Brock Purdy kind of has done with the others around him?
Yeah, elevating guys.
Yes, elevating guys. That's yet to be seen. I'm hoping he does because let's be honest, the knock against him is his accuracy.
Thank you for the donation, Stay Well. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So if he can stay in the gym, stay focused, become that vocal leader, because that's one thing that I really haven't seen from him this year is, just the relaxed, the fun Sam, the one dancing during timeouts,
so
clapping, things like that.
I want to get to that point, Tran. I'm glad you brought that up. Sam's demeanor. A lot of people sent me the link to his presser, and I think it was Michael Dye who sent me a thing on Facebook and was like, Sam looks like he's being held hostage up there. Just didn't seem like he had that same bravado.
Yeah, and I've noticed that since after the LSU game, he's been that way. He's been just quiet, And I think he was so good last year because he was so calm and comfortable, and he just doesn't look comfortable right now. And I hope they kind of pull those reins. I mean, that's what happened with Vince with Coach Brown. Coach Brown always tells the story about him saying, "Hey, I just had to let Vince be Vince. Let Sam be Sam, and let him be the player. He's not going to embarrass this university.
No, but he needs to be that loud, boisterous,
I think
talking
so.
shit.
I've always said that you have to have that. You have to have that in a quarterback. You have to have that guy college quarterback.
Yeah,
NFL is different, but college quarterback, you have to have that confidence because that's the guy that everyone's following.
One of the things I'm also seeing with Sam is I think he's disappointed himself. I think he's disappointed with how the season has gone, and every play he's trying to save the season. And I think so much has been put on his shoulders. And when you look at all the preseason hype and all the covers, and he was a guy who many of us not only had, for all Big 12 honors, but in the Heisman discussion. So when you consistently, are in the public eye, Players Tribune, all these type of things going on, and you feel the weight of Austin on your shoulders. Mm-hmm. You feel the weight of Texas on your shoulders. And it's not even like he's playing terrible, but I can see him pressing at times. And Tim Beck has alluded to this as well. We're not just pulling this out of thin air. But he doesn't have that same childlike fun, dancing before the snap and just being loose. I mean, you saw times in the Kansas State game they were starting to smile again, and you noticed that even with him and Keontae. But right now, I think that disappointment's real. They're people. They hear some of this stuff. Some of them hear a lot of this stuff, right? And they're just as disappointed as anybody else.
And we also got to remember they're still kids. Like
Preston, thank you for the donation, sir. 19 Preston, thank you, man. Appreciate that. I always appreciate you guys coming in and touching base and always commenting and being a part of this. Thank you, Preston. Can we just go back to last year's offense? Well, LJ was a big part of that.
But it would also take away from Devin Duvernay.
Well, you know what? That's where the lack of creativity comes into play, because they waited 8 games to start putting 4 wide receivers on the field before they thought that was a good idea.
So who do you think's having a better season? LJ last year or Devin this year?
Devin this year, but LJ not by much though. LJ made some,
LJ had game breaking plays.
He may have been more of a mismatch in a weird way.
Yeah, no, 100%. 6'5" in the slot.
Yeah. Nathan said LJ. I mean, he made some crazy plays. Like, the thing is, Devin is so good on the sideline stuff. Alex, I'm glad you brought up Epps. Next year when X evolves into Malcolm X offense, we'll have fun again. We've seen him trash talk on Colin Johnson's video. I agree. I want to actually bring up a point. Hey, guys on IG, Alex and Trev, if you guys want to move over to YouTube, I appreciate you.
20 seconds.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. Thank you. But I'm going to close up here.
Does Oklahoma State beat OU without Sanders and Wallace? No.
Hold on. I do want to make this point, though, that it's not even my point. It was Rob Baber's point. Rob Babers was talking. He spent a segment this week here on the local radio in Austin on the Horn talking about Malcolm Epps and the failure of the coaching staff with him. Because what they're asking Malcolm Epps to do, he's never going to get there. He's never going to be Colin Johnson because he doesn't have the lateral mobility to run in and out of his cuts the way he needs to. Like, yeah, he'll be able to get stronger and he might develop stronger hands and all that, but he'll never be what they want him to, playing him so much on the outside. He was like, what they need to do is put him in that kind of hybrid H position, put 20 pounds on him and make him be a wide receiver tight end hybrid. That's what needs to happen. And I totally agree with that. And the thing now, again, he'll have to become a better blocker.
Yeah.
He'll have to get more physical, and all these things have to happen. I think he's a redshirt freshman, or something like that. So he has time. But if we ever want to see Malcolm Epps reach his full potential, because he should be a red zone nightmare.
He should not be running routes in the red zone. He should run out and box people out if he's one-on-one.
I agree.
He should just use his body. We saw that. We saw the defensive back that they put on him, and that's just a slap in the face to him.
And he made a great he made a great play on that touchdown because it was a low ball that he had to adjust to. But that's a guy who should have 8 to 10 touchdowns easy in the just off of stuff like that. And then he
should have like 13 receptions and 12 touchdowns on the season.
Well, you complement his size and athletic ability with the quarterback power stuff. Now you got something.
Mm-hmm.
Now the defense has to say, whoa, wait a second. You know what I mean? So I would like to see them get there with him. But asking him to be – Rod Baber's point was they're asking him to be Colin Johnson, and he's never going to be Colin Johnson. That's not fair to the player. So you need to put the player in an advantageous role for him and his development. And we're not seeing that enough, in my opinion, with the coaching staff. Preston, to your point, what's up with Jake Smith, man? I saw him run 2 routes, and they took him out. What's going on with Jake Smith? Is he okay? Have they Was it you that was asking me why haven't we gotten him a quick little screen or touch to kind of get his, because it's clear his confidence is gone.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, somebody was asking me about it. I thought it was you, but they put him in the game and they make him run a 7.
Maybe it's Bo because we were
okay.
about, yeah.
But they put him in the game, make him run a 7 route, and then we have to throw the ball out of bounds. It's like
it's just a wasted effort. And for not only that, if you're doing to a guy who's the last 2 passing attempts, he dropped them both off of that same route. I mean, you really just want to build both the rapport with the quarterback and the wide receiver on a quick pass. Just get their confidence going with each other, and you can get the offense moving. I don't like just like sending him out on the deep routes right away.
They fired him.
They did.
They fired that guy because after the fumble situation, they didn't even play him the next week. And then the Iowa State game, he played maybe a series. So I don't know what's going on there, guys. Just because, and I was frustrated with Jake Smith too, and I'm sure he was frustrated with himself. But it's also growing pains. Thank you. You gotta stick with the guy. You can't fire him. So they're gonna fire Roshan the first time he fumbles.
He was the Gatorade National Player of the Year. It's not like this kid does not know how to play.
Right. Matthew Miller said, "Are we ever getting the LSU Bama reaction?" So here's what happened. Billy is getting married, and he got hammered with a whole bunch of wedding stuff because I think he's getting married like in the next 2 weeks. So we've been having a lot of trouble getting that scheduled. We might do something where we do that reaction on top of reacting to playoff rankings. Tyler's not in a good place right now with the loss of Tua in that situation. I have not spoken to him about his thoughts with Nick Saban, but I know via text message he is not happy. He does love the Boss's Ranch, Connor. He loves this Red River Ranch, HEB Cold Produce. Thank you for the reminder. But yeah, I mean, moving forward, in terms of we need the reaction. Oh man. On a positive, that was a good one, Matthew. I'll let him know. Michael Martin said, on a positive note, I'm happy to see Ingram getting his confidence back. I agree.
Once again, he was just a kid too. He's still just a kid.
Growing pains. Guys, make sure you're hitting the like button and subscribing. Just trying to, one of the things with YouTube, man, the more we smash that like button, the more it plays in the algorithm, more Texas fans will be able to find the content.
I think, honestly, we're waiting till Texas Tech to play Whittington. That way, if we play Whittington, we could play them this week, actually. Well, I think we'll play them this week, Texas Tech, and then the bowl game, he'll still be able to redshirt.
They're really – I don't know if you just don't shut them down the whole time, though.
No, I mean, if he's ready to play, I mean, he still will get his red shirt.
But I'm still hearing that he's saying that it hurts.
Okay, well, if it hurts, then don't play him. I mean, but if he's ready to play, they'll play him. I mean,
I'm hearing mixed things on how it's doing. Because Tom Herman kept talking about him like it's a matter of pain tolerance. Okay. I don't like hearing that.
No, that's not good. That's probably an off-season rehab. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Camping World against Notre Dame. We got to redeem that meme. Tran Steve, I do marketing. Okay.
Hey, hit us up, man. I'm always looking for ideas to grow this thing. I appreciate it, Connor. Send me a DM, man. Appreciate that. Thank you. I tell people all the time, I'm always open for business. No, Roshan can't redshirt unless he moves back to quarterback and Bijan and somebody else takes his spot at running back, because we also have Ty Jordan coming in.
If you guys are holding, so the bowl game that I think we'll probably be going to is the Alamo Bowl. And I think we'll either play USC or what do you think, Washington maybe?
What's Washington's record?
Probably around ours.
But no, Oh, I haven't even looked into the bowl
Yeah.
stuff yet.
I think it's going to be either the Alamo Bowl or the Texas Bowl. I don't think we're leaving Texas. Maybe I also read something about Memphis. We might be doing that Liberty Bowl, like the Memphis Liberty Bowls.
I have no interest in playing Memphis.
No,
or going
we'd
to
be playing
Memphis.
SMU in the Memphis Bowl. Which Sam,
That would-
Shane versus Sam. I'd like that.
Boy,
Maybe not for
Texas. I'll say this right now, and A&M fans would probably agree with me. If Texas and Texas A&M played each other in a bowl game, that will get as much attention and be it from a television perspective
as
any playoff game.
As the playoff game. Yep. But they wouldn't play in the Alamo Bowl. The Alamo Bowl is a Big 12 in Pac-12, and so it'd be the Texas Bowl. That's the one that's for Big 12 and SEC in Houston.
Washington 6-4.
Yeah, so
they're down.
Our record.
They're down even despite having Jacob Eason. Interesting. Chris Peterson's still a good coach to me, though. Yeah, make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Are you sure? So, anything else we want to touch on with in regards to Baylor? I mean, across the board, they're good.
Yeah.
RJ Sneed is another one that I didn't mention too much of. That's another wide receiver on their team that's been getting some looks.
Am I sure about what? I don't know. Are you sure, Tran?
I think the bowl.
I know the Texas Bowl is SEC versus Big 12 because I went to the one with Missouri versus Texas a couple of years ago.
Didn't we play Arkansas in the Texas Bowl too? Or was that Alamo Bowl?
I think so. But I also went to the Oregon State versus Texas in the Alamo Bowl too. So
Right.
Yeah.
Holiday Bowl is also Big 12 versus Pac-12, right?
That's in San Diego because my brother played in that one versus Washington State.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's you can do. So how does it work with the staff? Because I this is what we're asking everybody. Do they let go of staff if we're gonna say we're gonna make a change? This would be after the bowl season, right? Would they still get the extra practices with the kids, or do you go ahead and start telling people we're gonna part ways with them at the end of the Texas Tech game?
So normally they do it, almost immediately, like after the regular season's over. Depending on what it is.
Because recruiting factors into this too. There's a lot of recruiting that goes on during that period of the extra time. And we have early signing day coming up too.
Well, so we don't deserve like someone was saying something about we don't deserve a bowl at this point. Like, no, we shouldn't go to a bowl at this point. I disagree with that. So you get extra practices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only that, the school gets money, and also the kids get a really nice package from all the sponsors of the bowl game too. So
the nicer the bowl, the nicer the package.
It's a really good thing for the kids.
I think we're gonna wrap up here soon in a few minutes. Let me ask you guys this: do you think any Big 12 team at this point it would just be OU? Do you think are we completely out of the playoff conversation at this point?
Yes. we were out of the conversation after the OU loss. Like 2 losses in your seasons, you're not in the playoffs. I mean, do you agree? Do you agree?
I think at this point, I think the winner of Utah and Oregon, I think they're going to get in for the Pac-12.
Oh, I thought you.
No. I was asking about the Big 12.
Okay.
And you laughed that off. So that answered my question.
Yeah.
So no Big 12 team is going to make it. Oregon, I would put in Oregon right now, Matthew. I think they lost a very close game to Auburn in the first game of the season. So, and they've been very good on both sides of the ball. We watched them against Arizona last week. I think Oregon. Yeah, and then the thing is OU, and this is assuming I'm saying Oregon, assuming they go and they defeat Utah, right?
Right.
If they defeat Utah, that's a better win than any win that OU would have had.
Yes.
Even beating Baylor potentially twice,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think,
but if
Oklahoma needs chaos to happen in front of them.
So Georgia's one loss. Do you think with Georgia
to South Carolina,
which is
a bad
team,
loss? Mm-hmm.
Why do you think the committee rated them so high? Because that is a bad loss at home to a 4-win team.
They regard Georgia highly still. They lost in triple overtime where the kicker missed a field goal. They beat Auburn. They beat Florida. They beat somebody else too.
It's a bad loss, though.
I know it's a bad loss
because they held out Ohio State for that loss to.
They change their rules every year. You didn't know this? Their standards.
It's whatever. I mean, I get it. I get it.
Who would you have over Georgia? Is my question. Because I think the top three right now, you have Ohio State, you have LSU, you have Clemson. And then right now, Georgia's 4, Bama's 5. And then they have Oregon and Utah. So are you saying Georgia should be below those schools because they lost to South Carolina?
Yes. I really do think the strength of a loss really should affect their perception of a team.
The thing though is Georgia, all they got to do, like they're boosting up their resume right now because that Auburn win helped them. They're gonna, they start to play A&M, and then they play the SEC championship game. I know they play Georgia Tech at the end, but that aside, they play the SEC championship game against LSU.
Mm-hmm.
If they beat LSU, you got to put. I mean, they're
yes. I will give you that. But there's a bunch of big ifs. Like right there, I don't think that they'll beat LSU. I don't think they'll be able to score with LSU. Honestly,
we also got to see, guys. So the folks asking about Bama in the chat right now, we got to see how Bama looks with Mac Jones at quarterback. And I don't know if it can. Do you think Mac Jones is going to go into Jordan-Hare Stadium and pull out a win against Auburn? I don't know.
If they hand it to Najee Harris, I mean Najee Harris is
and Auburn's run D. Auburn's D is good too.
I get that, but I mean it's
Auburn's D is no joke.
I get that. I get it, but you can settle a lot of nerves for a quarterback. I mean, they won a national championship with him throwing like 76 yards. Greg McElroy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that was Cole McCoy going. Why are you bringing that stuff up?
I'm just saying because they won it because of those two running backs.
Georgia needs to be LSU, in my opinion,
to get in. Of course,
because they're going to get leapfrogged if they have 2 losses. Let's say they get dogged by LSU, they're definitely out.
Mm-hmm.
Now they could be in a similar situation that they were in last year, where they play LSU really tight, like they did with Bama last year, and then they make this argument that they're one of the 4 best teams, even though they have 2 losses. But I still think the committee would put in a 1-loss strong Pac-12 team because they can't keep leaving the Pac-12 out. There will be anarchy because the Pac-12 will say, well, we had a team at 6 and we had a team at 7. They both had 1 loss. That champion should get in.
They should.
You see what I'm saying? So they can't keep leaving these people out, or else they're going to be like, well, fuck it. We're going to leave the NCAA. Like you guys keep – we're a Power 5 conference. So, I mean,
Yeah, I agree. Bama's D is sketchy this year. I think the loss of Dylan Moses really hurt them completely.
Chris Hill said 2 losses and you're done. You're out.
I agree.
Out. Bama losing could just, I mean, Bo Nix is struggling right now. I will give you that, Alex. But it's the Iron Bowl, man. It's the Iron Bowl. You know how those games have gone in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll wrap here in about 5 minutes, guys. Any other questions? I think Joe Burrow at this point, we're just having general college football talk right now. I think Joe Burrow's wrapped up the Heisman, right? Barring injury.
Yes. Unless in the SEC championship he throws like 6 interceptions or something like that, and he loses the game for him.
I mean, I don't remember the last time it was this big of a gap. Where maybe not big gap, but like we knew this early on, like, all right, yeah, it's pretty much that
Cam
guy. Cam Newton, yeah. I'm bad at recalling all these people when it comes from a Heisman perspective, but like it's kind of crazy.
Henry?
Well, no.
Henry?
We can't eliminate Justin Fields though yet.
Okay.
We can't eliminate Justin Fields, in my opinion.
Okay. I just think they'll give it to the senior over the redshirt freshman, honestly. Because you can warrant both of them. I mean, it's fine, but I think that at that point they'll just give it to the senior.
I do remember to Matthew Miller bringing up Troy Smith. I remember Troy Smith having it wrapped up even before the Michigan game.
Yeah, it wrapped up after the Texas game. Almost the second game of the season.
Yeah, him and Tech gained that year. Yeah. That was ridiculous. And then my man gained all that weight before the national championship. Mm-hmm. That was sad. Hate to see it. Only one close was Reggie Bush. I thought Vince Young was on his heels. Vince Young, one of the issues that Vince ran into was he had he didn't put up good stats in the A&M game. I think we only won by 10. And then they tried to gas his stats back up in the Big 12 championship game when they put 70 on Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Yeah, but they were trying to boost his stats back. But Reggie had already hit that spin move on Fresno State.
The one where he went the ball behind his back.
And it was just like, and then he did the thing against UCLA. I remember the UCLA game where Reggie went stupid, and it was just like, yeah, that was.
Reggie was a special talent. I mean, you can't deny him how good he was. He was paid for it. I'm joking.
Everybody's saying, rest in peace, Joel Klatt in that Big 12 championship game. I forgot he was the quarterback for Colorado in that game. Man, they got mollywop, man.
Klatt, sorry.
They were trying to gas him back up, man. It was too late.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Do you want to do a prediction on next year? Because it's too hard to tell.
It's too, yeah. I don't even know what the staff's going to look like next year. I know Tom Herman's going to be here. I'm pretty sure Todd Orlando is going to be here. Beyond that, I don't know. And I want to see, because one of the things is when they hire these people, all of us are going to go into a deep dive on, so-and-so's background and these type of things that a lot of the LSU fans did when they got Joe Brady and why they felt so confident when he came from the Saints. So, we'll see. I don't think Chad Morris is coming here because they don't have a good relationship, him and Tom Herman. But going back to my earlier point, sometimes you got to say F that. Did Nick Saban have the best relationship with Lane Kiffin?
Nope,
probably not. I think but you got to get the guy that works. So at this point, I don't know if Tom Herman's at that, if he has that level of posture. Sadly, guys, right now, if we had to go put money in Vegas, I would put money on Larry Fedora being the OC next year. but I know nobody wants to hear that.
I will not have an OC with the last name
Larry
Fedora.
Fedora. I'm just saying. His input has stifled this offense.
Stifled. I like
Y'all
that.
are savage. Man, it is too late for the. He said stifled. I like some of the stuff he's done with the running backs out of the backfield. Fire all the analysts. They didn't do a damn thing. Nobody's in on Larry Fedora. We should do a poll on Instagram and Twitter. Is anybody excited about Larry Fedora being the next offensive coordinator? It's going to be like 90% no, 10% fuck off. Like, nobody wants to see Larry Fedora out here. You think Colt will get into coaching? Do you think he's done with the NFL? I mean, if he can still keep getting them backup quarterback checks, I think he might stick around a little bit longer. I don't know. So we're out on all the analysts then. Is that what I'm hearing, guys? He's just ready to move on. Andre Coleman, Larry Fedora. Who else? They had the other guy too.
The guy from Kansas State.
That was Andre Coleman.
Okay.
They had another. I can't remember everybody's name right now. But yeah, you got to start looking around this country. We need to start paying people, man. We need to start throwing our money around.
Yep, I agree.
Eric said our analysts need to pay us back. We tried, man. We tried to go out here and get some analysts, and it didn't work out. Nathan Lott, I agree. We got to go out.
I would love that. That will never happen, though.
With the Kyle Shanahan thing?
It will happen if he starts blowing games, if he starts losing a lot in the NFL. We can get him.
You know why I'm this weak, Michael? Because when I'm a broken man. I'm a broken Texas fan right now. I mean, I always bleed burnt orange, but right now it's and then we're in a different place. Like at least the Charlie Strong thing, when we sucked, it brought us closure. Mm-hmm. Like the Kansas game was close. We're like, this is over. Right now, we're like, we don't know who the hell we're gonna get. Like, we're not ready to move on from the coach just yet because it's too soon.
Yeah.
But it's like we're already like, I don't know. Oh, Red River Ranch, guys, to answer Chris Hill's question. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. I do want to look something up real quick because I have I think this Tom Herman thing is going to go one of two ways. I wanted to see how long he was at Michigan. Oh, so do y'all remember Brady Hoke from Michigan? He went to Michigan, I think, after Rich Rodriguez, and he took them to the Sugar Bowl. And everybody was loving Brady Hoke, and then it went before they ended up getting Jim Harbaugh. He was the head coach. I'm afraid, my fear as a Texas fan is that Tom Herman is like Brady Hoke, where we start off with the high, and then it just.
I was thinking of who used to be Georgia's coach. He went on to coach Miami.
I'm just saying that's my fear. I'm not saying that's the case.
Yeah. Who's the coach for Georgia, and then he went to Miami?
Mark Richt.
Is it Mark Richt?
Mm-hmm. He's not at Miami no more.
Yeah. Okay.
It's,
so that's
Manny Diaz now.
That's the guy who I kind of, because
you think he's more like Mark Richt?
Georgia kept winning. They kept winning like 8 to 10 games every single year. You just couldn't get to that game or get past Florida or anything like that. And I'm really worried that this is the path that we're going down.
Didn't Mark Richt have a heart attack a couple weeks ago? I don't know if he's in best of health to still be coaching. That would be a concern for me. Mark G brought up the pop thing. I'm just saying, like, we've seen coaches like this before, where they come out, they light the world on fire early, and then they just it just didn't work out. I do agree, Mark Richt in a consultant role, very similar to what the Minnesota Vikings are doing with Gary Kubiak. I don't know if anybody noticed this. I noticed it when the Cowboys were playing Minnesota, and I was like, oh, that's where the zone running scheme that Dalvin Cook's tearing us up with. They had Gary Kubiak in the booth. Yeah, if you want to bring in a Mark Richt to kind of be that oracle up there and help with something like that, I'd be cool with that. Oh yeah, Jay Croc. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That zone run scheme. Whew, they were. Man, they had brothers all on the ground, man. Just
To our credit, though, we did play Sunday night and Monday night, and then had to play the Sunday game, so we had less time to prep for them, but still happened. They still dominated.
Todd Stump, I'm not selling my soul. I think I answered that earlier, but I can't do that. I can't. And I think I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. If I feel like Urban comes here, we start digging up skeletons, and we don't know that it's just too much. Yes, we'd win.
He's gonna fake some disease anyways to get out of it anyways. Just take the money, the guaranteed money. He's a scumbag. As you can see, I don't like him.
Zach Taylor disciple. Gus Malzahn, I think he might go back to Arkansas. We'll see. Hard pass on Urban. I'm right there with you. I mean, because that's the other thing. It would make Texas look like hypocrites. We were the ones that were riding this whole moral wave against Baylor. Mm-hmm. We were riding this moral wave against Penn State and all these schools that were causing problems and having all these issues. Even some of the Michigan. I heard even people chiming in about the Michigan State stuff. You would, if you bring in Urban Meyer, what does it? Then you're no better than those other schools you called out. So is Houston not really going back to Arkansas? They just want to go back to their old school ways, running the football. All right. Urban's already getting. Yeah, I think Urban's going to end up at USC. I agree, Eric. Especially with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush being there all year on TV.
Grant Calcaterra retired?
He did?
Is that legit?
Yeah, Sterling Gilbert. Yeah, I'm a hard no on that one, Mark. Would y'all want Jim Harbaugh if he got fired? I don't think Jim Harbaugh would be a good fit here. I think he's a very good coach. Wow, that's a tough. Damn.
Oh, that sucks, man. He was a good player. I mean, he was the one who caught that winning touchdown, Big 12 championship game against us.
Yeah, that's tough. But I mean, it sounds like he's doing what's best for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys. So anyway, let's end off with predictions. I think I said Baylor. I think Baylor's going to win this football game. I think you said the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to get blown out or anything. I think we're still going to have great effort. I think we're going to come out but I think we're just going to see more of the same with frustrations with being held back by our staff, or Baylor being a step ahead, or with something in identifying a hole on our offensive line. I'm really worried about Lynch and the guys on Baylor's side exposing our offensive line. Even a guy like, I haven't talked about Shackelford a whole bunch, but I think he's even played he hasn't had a really good senior year from my eye. Parker Braun has struggled a lot in pass pro. So it's just, going to be one of those things where I think it's going to be tough for Sam. He's going to have to try to generate some big plays. They're going to have to trust guys like Brennan Eagles on one-on-ones. He had a hell of a touchdown catch in the Iowa State game. We need to see more plays like that where we're allowing our athletes to ball out. Todd Orlando in his presser even said, he said something that I've said a bunch of times. All these guys come in here with 4.4, 4.5 40s, but when you put on the tape, they're playing at a 4.9 because they don't know what they're looking at. And he's like, we gotta stop getting our kids playing at a 4.9 and getting them playing at a 4.5 and their natural speed. And I agree with that. So something to take a look at. They'll get the Red River Ranch infused in their veins. That's hilarious. I love it.
I hope that score comes out true. That would be the greatest thing ever.
Hey man, if we want to go and spoil some stuff and keep the win streak against Baylor alive.
Well, not only that, this is recruiting too. Because if they beat us and they embarrass us, they can say, you're really gonna go to Texas? Like, I've turned this program around. What are they doing right there?
Right.
Right. If we win, we still can actually we could produce top end recruits.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, guys. All right, we're heading out. Horns always up, guys. Thank you for everything.
Take it easy, guys.